recently signed the production sharing contract. Ultimately, our aim is to produce oil and gas in our E&P portfolio equivalent to around one-third of our refinery requirements. Our existing portfolio will take us a long way towards this, but we will also look to access further low-cost, high-value oil and gas opportunities where we believe that we have the skills required to execute projects successfully. In the refining and marketing space, the major priority is to complete the Phase 1 refinery expansion to increase complexity to 11.8, enabling us to enhance margins through the processing of heavier crudes and production of lighter products. We also have the option to further expand the Vadina refinery, but this will only be in line with market demand. The increased complexity will bring with it an increased need for heavier crude mix, and so we are looking to lock in sources of heavier crude. Mangala is a good example to this. The deregulation of gasoline prices has increased the options within our retail fuel business, and we are actively expanding our retail network to improve the profitability and value of this part of our business. And finally, we own 50% of the Mombasa refinery in Kenya, and we need to consolidate our position in that region to increase profitability. So there's a great deal to do in all of our businesses, and we are committed to successfully and safely executing our strategy as reiterated today. So, to summarize, a great deal has been achieved in the last 6 months. For me, the major achievement has been the successful completion of the IPO and the entry into the FTSE 100, and I would like to thank everyone involved in this transaction for all of their hard work to make this successful. Our operations are running smoothly, and our real focus is on delivering the growth projects. Our coal clearances have moved more slowly than we would have liked, but we are making progress and have contingency plans in place for the temporary supply of coal to our power plants. Our strategy is in place and clearly focused on the Indian energy opportunity, where the demand environment is expected to remain positive. And we are well positioned to take advantage of the opportunity that this represents. Before we move to questions, I would just like to thank Jerry for all his hard work over the last 8 months. Jerry joined us in January to guide us through the IPO and put in place a strong finance team to help us deliver on days like today. I would like to thank him for all his efforts towards making the Essar Energy IPO a success, and I would like to wish him and his family success and happiness in the future. On that note, I would like to finish and take questions. We will start here in the auditorium, and then I believe we have people dialing in, so we will see if we have any questions there. If you could address your questions to me in the first instance, and then I will pass them around to colleagues as required.
If we could just ask as well if people could wait for the microphones, and if you could state your name and organisation, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Morning, it's Nitin Sharma, JP Morgan. Couple of questions, please. One, view on outlook for diesel deregulation in India. Question number two, I heard comments that evacuation of power is not going to be impacted despite the delay in transmission project. Why do you need the project then? And finally, comments on expansion and the margin uplift if you had distribution assets within Europe. Should we then assume that acquisition of RD Shell refineries is imminent? Thanks.
Vinesh, you take the first one. You can take the power.
Yeah. Responding to your first question, Nitin, there's major positive development which we saw in the last quarter was that the Government of India announcing the deregulation of auto fuel, of course partially when the gasoline has been fully deregulated. We believe that the gas oil or diesel will get deregulated in the near future, largely driven by certain facts that Government of India has not provided for any subsidy on diesel and gasoline during the last fiscal budget. And the overall commitment seems to be that sector should get deregulated. And that gives us a huge opportunity to Essar Energy because we are well positioned today. We have 1,350 gas stations operating in all over the country, and we are expanding them to take them to 1,700 gas stations by March 11. And depending upon the pace of the deregulation, we will further expand it to take it to 3,000 outlets by March 12.
Well, Nitin, if you remember the power evacuation system from Mahan, there are basically two lines. One is Lilo line getting connected to Vindhyachal Korba line, which is a 1200 megawatt evacuation facility which has got built in already. And that's just a 20-kilometer line which is going well ahead of its schedule. So by November, December, we will be able to complete that line. Through that line, we will be able to evacuate almost 800 to 900 megawatt of the power to the CTU lines. From there, it can be sold it to the any regional grid or any state government also. The other line is from Mahan to Sipat, which is connected to the CTU. That's a 300 kilometers, 315 kilometers line. There is a 70 kilometers of forest area there. That's what Mr. Nair has explained, that there's a regulatory delay that's on the forest clearance. But 300 kilometers, the work has commenced. Then as soon as we get the forest clearance, that will also be completed. And the entire balance 100 to 120 megawatt also can be evacuated to that. Apart from that also, there is a ROFR clause in which we have to give 25% to the state government and 12.5% at variable cost. This power, the state government is supposed to take it from our bus bar. So that is need not be considered in the power evacuation system. As soon as their interconnection line is done, they'll be able to take that power also.
As regards the question around Shell, I think we've stated our strategy fairly clearly in my presentation. The primary focus of the company remains on the requirement for power and oil and gas products in India. We've laid out under what circumstances we will look at assets outside of India. We've talked about natural resources outside of India because we don't have sufficient natural resources in India. And we've also talked about markets where we can export part of our petroleum products out of India, and also our products from our refinery in Kenya in Mombasa in the East African region. So I think there's been a clear presentation of our strategy going forward. As with regards to Shell, there's nothing really new to report here today. There are discussions on with Shell, and however, they are no longer exclusive. Shell is also discussing with other potential buyers. I think we have, if there are no questions here, I think there are a couple of questions on the. No, I don't think that I'm not able to. Mark?
Okay at the moment. No, are there any more questions in the audience? We have.
Thanks. Adam Forsyth at Matrix. Just a couple of questions. Firstly, on coal, we saw a small coal tax coming in the budget on imported coal. I think that was right. And also there's been a little bit of talk about future allocation of coal being prioritised for the UMPP programme. Can you comment on what you think, where you think coal policy is going at the moment and what impact that might have?
Yes, I do believe that, I mean, the coal tax which has been levied is very, very small and will not in any way impact any of what we are doing. In any case, most of the power purchase agreements which are signed have a pass-through clause for any change in government levies, so it should not in any way really affect our business, what we have planned. However, the future, the way India is looking at coal is future coal allocations will be done through a public bidding process. And obviously, there are certain amount of coal blocks which are being reserved for the UMPP projects. But independently, there is a very large number of coal blocks which are going to be offered over the next 1 year for public bidding. And as Essar Energy, and since we have a preeminent position in this sector, we will obviously be a participant in this public auctioning process.
Okay, and if I could, just a quick sort of more detailed question on the plant load factors at the 4 operating projects. Brander was perhaps slightly lower. Is that a maintenance issue, or is that the sort of level you'd expect it to be running at?
Well, Plant availability factor is a symbol that indicates the how better you are operating and maintaining the plant. But plant load factor is totally depending upon the offtake. Your plant is ready to generate and